It's been a little over a month since Russia attacked Ukraine, and within the first few days of the conflict, we have already seen civilian cargo ships bombed or attacked by missiles, some of which have sunk, and in the case of a Bangladesh flagged bulk carrier, one crew member was killed. The Russian Navy has apparently imposed a blockade on Ukraine's coast and ports, effectively trapping more than 100 merchant ships, most of which are registered with countries that have nothing to do with this war. These ships are manned by about 1,500 seafarers, a great majority of whom are neither Ukrainians nor Russians. But even so, they are caught in the middle of this chaotic situation. Their ships unable to leave port, their food and water supplies dwindling, and suffering in the cold because they don't even have enough fuel for heating. On top of that is the fear that at any given moment, their ship could get hit by a missile. These innocent seafarers from different countries were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, working hard to earn an honest living for themselves and their families back home. But now their human rights are being abused, their lives at serious risk, and they are unable to exercise their right to travel either to go home or simply to remove themselves from the conflict zone. Which is why it is very inspiring to hear about one shipping company that set a very high standard in placing the crew's safety as its top priority by leading the way and evacuating its 22 Filipino seafarers whose ship was stranded in Ukraine in the midst of this conflict. And I'm proud to say that this company is the one that I work for, MTM Ship Management. As I was saying, MTM Ship Management is the company that I work for, and the ship in question is the oil and chemical tanker MTM Rio Grande, which is manned by a full complement of Filipino seafarers. Two of the officers on board are my classmates from the academy, the chief mate and the chief engineer. If you've been following my channel for a while, you may recognize the chief engineer from one of my previous videos when I visited the ship he was on at the time. The MTM Rio Grande arrived in port at Mykolaiv, Ukraine on the 24th of February. However, only a few hours later, the port ceased all operations as Russia began its invasion. At that point, the office management had ordered the captain to pull out, but unfortunately, the local pilot was no longer available, and they received an advisory that underwater mines have been placed all over the waterway, so it would be very dangerous to navigate out of the port by themselves. And as we already know, within the first few days of the conflict, several merchant ships have been attacked, which of course led the crew of the Rio Grande to be gripped with fear and uncertainty. Having no solid idea as to when they could either leave the port or be evacuated, they had to conserve all their remaining resources: food, water, fuel. But even so, they knew that they had to keep morale high. And then they saw a missile hit a nearby ship, which was just around 500 meters from their location. That ship was the Bangalore Samriddhi, where one of the crew members, the third engineer, was killed. At that point, they really feared for their lives, constantly coordinating with the office management, trying to get updates on their evacuation. While at the same time, they tried to help speed things up by personally contacting the various embassies in countries like Poland, Romania, and Moldova to hopefully pass along the information about the predicament that they were facing. In the meantime, while waiting for their evacuation, they took precautions by turning off the lights all over the accommodation at night and sleeping in the alleyways, effectively using their cabins and other compartments as barriers in case a missile hits the ship. Eventually, it was decided by the ship owner and the office management to leave the ship in port and evacuate the crew. All possible efforts were made to make this evacuation possible, and at tremendous financial cost. But the company decided that the lives of the crew will always be the top priority. In preparation for their impending departure, the crew was tasked to disable the various ship's systems and remove certain essential components from the machinery to prevent them from being started. Of course, they weren't going to make things easy in case someone decides to take residence in their absence, right? Obviously, I'm not going to go into details for security reasons, but from what was explained to me, I'd say it would take a team of highly experienced engineers many weeks to figure out what's wrong. And even if they could, they won't be able to get the needed components anyway. In any case, the company has taken steps to further secure the ship by other means. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Anyway, finally, after being stranded for 2 weeks, the crew of MTM Rio Grande disembarked the ship on March 10 and was escorted by a private security team hired by the company. They had to travel by land through Odessa, passing through numerous checkpoints and subjected to inspections by the military. They even had to spend the night in an abandoned construction site as they weren't allowed to be on the road during curfew hours. Then they had to walk about 7 kilometers to reach the border to Moldova.
Kicking and alive.
And from there, travel to Romania. And finally, to Hungary, where the company has arranged their flight home. Having faced a harrowing ordeal while stranded in Ukraine for 2 weeks, the crew of MTM Rio Grande finally managed a sigh of relief. And after what they've been through while traveling for 2 days just to get to where they are, they felt comfortable enough and took a moment to relax. The Seafarers arrived in Manila on March 12 and were given a warm welcome by Captain Jose Rimo Lebrodo, President of Next Wave Maritime Management, the manning company of MTM in the Philippines. He was accompanied by officials from the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, Department of Foreign Affairs, and the Association of Licensed Manning Agencies. Obviously, this whole operation incurred a very high financial cost. For most companies, as soon as they see how much it would potentially cost them to evacuate their crew, that option would immediately be thrown out the window. But regarding this issue, Captain Lebrodo had this to say during an interview with GMA News.
We don't care about the money. We don't care about the financial losses, no? Because I think it is not a loss for the company. Rather, it is a good investment for us na nadala namin yung mga tao namin pauwi sa pamilya nila.
Wow. That makes me very, very proud to be part of MTM. A lot of companies frequently make bold statements about safety and that the crew comes first, but in reality, it's all lip service, and it's always about the company's bottom line. But here in MTM, we could proudly say that we really do walk the talk.